I'm here to talk to you about research methods. So, ways to research your speech, how to begin that, what do you need to pay attention to, what are credible sources, how do you determine what's a credible source, how you should probably have a plan. This is something that you're going to want to do. You could start researching if you wanted to get an idea if that's the right topic for you to do, as in terms of knowing that there's enough information. So it can be a brainstorming, a minimal brainstorming activity. But what I'm really going to talk about is once you know what you're going to give your speech about, and you need to have research, you need to have uh, facts and data and statistics, then you're going to need to know where are you going to find that information. So here we go. Research methods. So let's say we're going to go back to that idea of, let's say you're going to research the problem of methamphetamine use in the Central Valley. Okay. And so, with that topic, if that's your topic, what kind of research plan are you going to create? Like, where are you going to look? Just think about that for a minute. I want you to just think for a second. Methamphetamine, meth, crystal meth, that's my topic. What information do I need to know? Like, what comes to mind? This is where you would actually you could brainstorm this right now, right? So if I were just brainstorming off the top of my head and not writing, because if I was writing, it would be actually a better activity because more is going to come out, but I'm just talking to you right now. So the one thing I'd want to know about methamphetamine is all the street names for it, right? I said it. Meth, crystal meth. There's probably other street names for what crystal meth is called. And maybe I also want to use cultural references like Breaking Bad or other probably shows that someone is a crystal meth dealer or user or addiction. Okay, let's see what else that I might want to use. So that gives me an idea of where I might want to go with my research, depending on how I want to talk about it. Those are just ways, remember we just talked about supporting materials. Those are ways that you can bring in different ideas and where you might go to find that information. So let's think about what's our plan, where we're going to look. So you all know that you have this beautiful library database at your school, at your college. It's right there in the library. In fact, maybe today I could probably take you there. With that, we're probably going to break up this lecture into two pieces. So I'm going to show you that library database. So you can Google it. There's that beautiful library database I was talking to you about. That library database means it's got books. You don't need to have books right now. It's got, in fact, I would stick to journal, periodicals, journal articles, and newspaper. That's your best bet in terms of backing up what you're going to say. Your focus is going to be on Fresno County. So you're going to want to think about the Bee, the Hanford Sentinel, different local newspapers and bigger newspapers, maybe even bigger California newspapers that talk about the Central Valley. Could be the LA Times, could be the Sacramento Bee, could be a paper in San Francisco, but San Francisco's pretty into like San Francisco. But those are LA Times and the Sacramento Bee definitely report on what's happening in the Central Valley. So that could be a place too that you might want to look. You can find the Bee, actually get to Bee articles on that database. Just talking about that, newspapers and periodicals, magazines. Maybe you want to look up in magazines. Different magazines are worthy, have worthy articles. Peer-reviewed journals. I'm going to explain what that is in a little while. Okay, let's look at Google. So a way that you can do this, did you know that you can hashtag things to find data? You could go into Google, hashtag methamphetamine, and see what comes up. You might even find like scholarly articles. That's when we say peer-reviewed journals. Peer-reviewed journals are scholarly articles. Think about the article that I had you read about communication anxiety. That was a peer-reviewed journal article. So there's a journal it comes from. That article was published in that journal. So a journal is this body of work that has different articles, scholarly articles in it. Peer-reviewed means someone wrote that paper. It's like writing a paper, but it's a long paper where they cite all those people. They wrote that paper and then they submitted it to the people who are editors for that journal. Then those editors, and it's a host of people, it's not just one person, we're talking maybe 4 or 5 or 6 people. They all read it and they decide, oftentimes the journal, that issue of the journal has a particular focus, okay? So maybe that particular journal sent out and said, we're taking papers, which then becomes an article, we're taking papers on communication anxiety. Anyone who's interested in submitting papers for that, please send it to us. So they look through this and they read this paper. They say, you know what? This is good. Maybe they say this needs to be changed in this. You need to add this. You need to polish this. Do this. Send it back to us and we're going to publish. That's peer-reviewed. Peer-reviewed means they're on the same level. It would be like a peer, like your peers. You're all students, right? You and I aren't peers because I'm a teacher and you're a student. If you all put together something, right? Let's say you all had a magazine. Think of like, well, your newspaper isn't peer reviewed, but let's say you had a student magazine, okay? And you called for submissions. And then there would be a group of you, maybe 4 or 5 of you, that read those submissions and decide which had value, what you wanted to put in your particular magazine, your monthly magazine on campus. That's peer reviewed. Okay? So now you all got it. So a peer-reviewed journal is an academic, scholarly academic source because these people have higher degrees that are submitting to this journal. They are college-educated people, have higher degrees, and they usually have a lot of experience studying that particular thing that they wrote about. Okay? So that's why peer-reviewed is a valuable place to look for scholarly information, academic information. Now you know what a peer-reviewed journal is. Take that to your next class. Cool. Okay, Google. You can hashtag something, you can find something. That's a good way to start your research. Not do all your research. If you look at all my assignments, I say don't be lazy and just go on the internet, web page internet, Google internet. I don't mean library database. That's also on the internet. I meant kind of just get on Google and just hashtag or look for stuff. That's kind of lazy way to research. A good way to research is go into the library database, use this idea about Google, but find a variety of methods to get your information. So in this research library database, and I'm going to take you to the database. I don't know whether I can do that. I'm going to have to practice that on this Cast-O-Matic. I might be able to do that. How much time do I have? 8 minutes. Well, what they have on here, in fact, let me see if I can do that right now. I'm going to try it. Okay, so stay with me. So you can see that. You see me right now. And I wonder if I can make this smaller. I don't think I can do it. It's not looking like I can do it. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can do it. So just stay with me. So if you go on the library database, I'm going to make a different lecture where I show you how to do that. So they have different databases called EBSCO, Fresno Bee, JustR, ProQuest. That'll make sense when I show it to you. And the way you find stuff is you use keywords or phrases. Okay, you want to be flexible in the way you go about that. And you can limit the scope of your search by creating a time zone, like from July of 2019 to July of 2020, right? You can limit that scope by looking at only academic articles or certain journals, depending on what your topic is. So if methamphetamine is your topic, where are you going to find that? You're going to find that in a journal that relates to drug and alcohol abuse, or you're going to find it in maybe science, or you're going to find it in some kind of medical journal, or you're going to find that maybe you're going to look at social work, right? Because social workers deal with community Can deal with individual problems, but also deal with community issues. Okay. Keeping track of your research, what you need to pay attention to. You need to pay attention to all these things. Author, credentials, the title of the article, not art, but title of the article, book, or book chapter. The source, which is like the name of the book, magazine, or newspaper. Where does it come from? So you have the article, but the article is usually within a journal. Okay, you need to know both of those things. What's the date of publication? Very important. Sometimes there's a volume number. If it's a book, you'll have a publisher, the city and state, and you need to put the page numbers. Now, if you have it's a URL, if you're on a website, then obviously it doesn't have pages, but you need to include that website. How do we get to it? Oftentimes there is a URL even for this journal, but the key is you need to have this because you're going to need it for your bibliography, which is going to go at the end of your outline, your preparation outline. You need to have all this information. It goes in alpha order, and depending on whether you use APA or MLA will depend how you format it, but they all go in alphabetical order. Very important. Very important to pay attention that you're sure you get all those things as you're doing your research. The key is that I should be able to go on your bibliography page, pick out any of that information, and find that research. That's the key. Okay, how do we evaluate credibility? We're going to stop right here and we're going to come back to that, and I'm going to talk more about that. We'll be right back.